News Radio.
You've waited a lifetime to look better and feel better, and now here's your chance. Fitness Friday on WNDB. Call 239-0033 and have your questions answered on health, fitness, and a better life. Fitness Friday is brought to you by Bodez by Tasso & Company, 1140 West Granada Boulevard in Ormond Beach. And now, here's your host, Tasso Kyriakis.
Well, welcome to Fitness Friday, and we got in the house our co-sponsor of the radio show, the proprietor and head of Love Whole Foods,
Hey, Tasso.
Mr. Mitch. How you doing, Mitchie?
I'm doing great.
Good.
Great to be back. Just got back from a incredible sojourn into the Garden of Eden. Just got back from Costa Rica.
Well, we have a couple of things that we're going to try and cover today. Number one, we're going to have a young man call us in about 5 minutes that is a local talent, a local treasure that we really don't know much about, I don't think, because I try to keep up on this stuff until I happen to meet him in a bar in Orlando. Never would have known this kid existed. And then, but we're going to have also Leslie's going to call us again to continue the conversation. From
Right, Leslie Patterson, who joined me when you were
in Atlanta.
When you were doing your seminar, and we're going to pick up that thread on the tremendous insights on turmeric, which will have also application to this athlete. Anyone that's struggling with inflammation will benefit from this talk. Leslie's incredible.
Great. Well, let's go right to the phone because I know he's got to get to practice. Curtis, welcome to Fitness Friday on WNDB with me. I've got Love Whole Foods proprietor Mitch Booth here with me. How you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Thanks for having me, Tasso.
Well, I appreciate it. Listen, I was just telling Chad off the line. I said, I told you the other day. I said, I didn't know who Curtis Mitchell was. This one of the treasures of our community. Someone that shines in the world. You go into the Olympic trials as the third fastest human in the world in the 200 meters. And no one in town knows who you are. And if not by a chance meeting of E.J. Qualley introducing us in Orlando at our friend's launch, I would have never gotten the opportunity to meet you and see the huge opportunity for recognition that you bring to the Daytona Beach area. So, Curtis, tell everybody, first of all, a little bit about who you are, because you went to school at Atlantic High School. Tell them a little bit about who you are and what the journey you've been on being a national champion and one of the fastest men in the world.
Oh, man, like I said, I went to Atlantic High School in Daytona Beach, Florida. And, I started running track for 3 months in high school my senior year, due to, moving from my mom's house. We moved around. We lost our house during Hurricane Francis. So I had to switch school zones from Seabridge to Atlantic. But, I started running track. My 12th grade year is when I really took it serious, and by that time, since I waited so late, I didn't really get, any scholarships from any big-time schools or whatever like that. So, I had to get sent to junior college, and that's where I went out there to play football. But I always had a desire to be the fastest man in the world since I was a little boy. That was really my goal, and I always told my dad and my mom, I want to be the fastest man in the world. I want to be like Michael Johnson. So I went out there to California for football. And it was at that moment in time in my life where I finally figured it out, what was my calling in life. And I had a gift for speed. I went out there, played football, and then I went out there for the spring semester of track and field, and from day one, I was winning everything. That year I went undefeated. I won the California State Championships in the 100 and 200 meters. And then that same year, I went off to junior nationals in Ohio, and I ended up making the World Juniors team that traveled over to Bodez, Poland. And I was ranked the fastest, 18-year-old in the world at 20.7, and I was 18 years old. And from that point on, I was like, wow, like everything was just happening so fast. It was kind of like a movie. Like next thing I know, just records started piling up. I was just winning everything, and people started taking notice. It's like, who is this Florida kid, out here in California? He's 6'4". I started getting compared to Usain Bolt, et cetera, et cetera. But like I said, I was just out there. My main focus and it's always been is to, help my mother out, first and foremost. You
Right.
know, so I just was trying to do everything I can because I realized that education is key. Without my education, without me getting to school, I really can't better my life. So I was just trying to use my talent, to get me to the next level so I can, start depending on myself, have a education and, have a better life, man. So it's been a whirlwind. It's been a great experience. And like I said, I ended up getting a scholarship to Texas A&M University. And I went out there, and the same thing happened there. So from day one, I started winning everything. And within 4 months, on my birthday to be exact, I won the NCAA Indoor Championships with the fastest time in the world that year, 20.38. And that takes me, I'm the 12th fastest man in history to ever run that fast indoors. So that was a turning point in my life. And then later on that summer, I became the 25th man in history of track and field, period, to crack 20 seconds over the 200 meters. So it's just been a dream come true. And like I said, I'm just so humbled and blessed by it, because I was from Daytona Beach. I remember sitting in my mom's house not knowing, where my life was going to take me. My dad's been gone since I was 7, so I didn't really have a male figure in my life, anybody to stay on me constantly. So I spent a lot of my years and a lot of my days, having to learn things on my own, how to teach myself how to be a man through experiences. Life is the best experience you can have, the greatest teacher. So it's just been humbling, man. And like I said, I get on my knees every day, and I just thank God that I didn't end up in jail, dead, and I'm waking up every day and I'm doing what I love to do. So
you're now currently actually in Claremont, and this is the dedication of this young man. And I want to, Curtis, we met because you had a chronic hamstring problem that kept you off the Olympic team and kept you out of London in 2012. The goal that we have is, it's neat to sit down with people and say, well, what's your goal in this fitness program? They say, well, I'd like to lose 50 pounds, or, oh, well, I'd like to gain a few pounds, or, oh, I'd like to do this. And you sit down with a young man like Curtis is, and here were the 2 goals. The first goal was to go to the World Championships in August and win a medal. The second one was to beat Usain Bolt and become the fastest man in the world in his race. And, we began to work together, and people complain about driving from Port Orange to Ormond Beach or from beachside to the mainland side so they can take care of their business. 2 times a week, Curtis, you're driving from Claremont, where you practice with the fastest 100-meter man in the world, Tyson Gay, and he's actually your teammate over there. And you come over to Daytona to see Dr. Fawn because he's working on your hamstring, and then you and I work and stretch, although we're not into our full workout scheme because there is a protocol that your coach has, and it's been a pleasure to communicate with your coach. And it's, and what we have, the reason I wanted you on this morning is because next week you're going to run in one of the biggest races around. Tell people about that, where you're going to be next week and what that race is and what it sort of means on this comeback trail after hurting your hamstring.
Well, next week I'll be traveling over to New York City. I leave on Thursday. My race is on Saturday. It's the Bodez Grand Prix, and it's a Diamond League race in track and field on the professional level. You have track meets that's categorized by status. Anytime you run in a Diamond League race, that's considered the big races where you're most likely to see the biggest names in track and field today, such as Usain Bolt, Johan Blake, Tyson Gay, and the list goes on. So that would be my first big race of the year. And like I said, I'm just going out there. I've been battling a hamstring injury, but that's no excuse at all. I understand other athletes in the world, they go through things, so I'm not focusing on my hamstring. I just want to go out there and just compete healthy. And like I said, if I just get through my races healthy, I know with time, everything going to put itself together and everything going to work itself out. So my main focus is, just going out there, and just competing at a high level, executing my race, staying within myself and taking care of business. Last year, I went to that race and I false started. Unfortunately, I credit that to a little bit of nerves, but it was a great experience for me. So this year, I'm just trying to I'm hoping to go out there and change things and actually get through the race, man. Like I said, I'm just so thankful for every opportunity. Being injured, the biggest thing that I've learned is to never take anything for granted. Especially when you're healthy, because anytime you're healthy, it's easy you kind of get lost into all the hoopla, and you forget to take a step back and be like, wow, like, I'm just so grateful that, my legs are feeling great today, or, I don't have any serious injuries or any serious pain. And you learn to appreciate, when you run in fast times, so, because track and field is quick. I always say it's a quick career, it's a quick sport. Everything we do is quick, so you want to make sure you understand, the level that you're at, and you always be humble. So, yeah, next stop will be New York City, man. So I'm just going out.
And the people in Daytona can watch that on TV. It's a nationally televised event. The name is Curtis Mitchell, and he is from Daytona Beach, Florida. The other reason we wanted you on the show is, and I know you've got to get out to practice and stuff, and we have someone calling in for our next interview. But the other thing is that we're working together. One of our goals is to educate youth, to get youth healthy, to fight children's obesity. And so you'll be coming home and creating a charitable group, and you're going to be coming home to create a PSA for your persona and your brand very soon. And so I wanted to put the invitation out to my friends in the corporate world, the people like NASCAR and ICI and the Hiltons and the Love Whole Foods, that we
and the 3 hospitals in our taxing district.
Right, and we want these people to get behind Curtis to build this vision of his charitable organization he's going to have, and with that PSA. So you're going to hear from us here in the next several weeks about this coming forth. And Curtis, the goal will be for you to have a great performance in New York. But remember, the goal is that we said you're going to be the fastest man in the world. You set that goal, and we're going to help you achieve it. And God bless you, my brother. I love you. It was such a blessing to meet you that night I met you, and then the conversations we've had, and meeting your mother, who has been a great influence on you. And, you have a great name in the area. Every time I tell someone about, hey, I met this young man, I said, I never knew he was from Daytona. They go, what a great kid he is and a hard worker. And those combinations are going to be awesome for you. You'll be blessed, man. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tasso. You have a blessed day, man. I love you.
Right. Bye-bye. Okay, he's a great young man. There's a treasure we have, and he is legitimately one of the fastest people in the world, and we don't even know he came out of our own community. And so hopefully we're going to be able to help him build that brand. And
Tasso, I think would have been nice, since he pulled the hamstring, and there are certainly enough people out there in listening that they're not the world's fastest, but hamstring is something I've struggled with myself. Would have been nice to know what he used to reduce that inflammation so the healing could start.
Well, actually, the in our case, we did use some products that come from your store in Shackley. We really have not been able. We had to address an issue with Curtis of his digestive system first. We got his probiotics back up, and we really did not get into the turmeric, because, to be honest with you, this whole introduction to turmeric and its thing started with Jordan Rubin's association I have with, and then becoming more educated because of Leslie and you. And what I've done with him is more straighten up his nutrition and get the sugar out of his diet.
Well, certainly Jordan is a big advocate of another major anti-inflammatory, which is enzymes. Right. Anyone out there knowing about bromelain alone as its ability to be able to reduce inflammation on the same level as a COX-2 inhibitor, certainly need to come into the store or talk with you about how safe enzymes like turmeric are totally compatible with all medications, and they work on multi levels, not just, let's say, inflammation. You said is in the case of an athlete, you get dysbiosis, inability to be able to absorb minerals into the mitochondria. That's where that probiotics comes in. We need to make that a subject of a future show.
And I actually have, in my one-on-ones, I just left this conference with the holistic medicine, and one of the things I took out of there is the ability to test for dysbiosis and other things that we want to do in our scope of practice that is completely encompassed in that, because so many times people come in, Mitch, and the biggest thing that I've learned over the last 3 years is, and going through the history of working with people, imagine the way my history has gone in this education and nutrition, is always been very, very astute to it and trying to make sure I kept up with it. But I started a program with the Nautilus diet that basically said, here, eat this, prepare it this way, and you're going to lose your weight. Well, as we've seen the advent of preservatives and eating out and just different lifestyles come about, we've seen that people had a greater challenge in being able to lose their weight easily. So now we became very, and it started all the way back with a lady named Bonnie that was a member of our club. And Bonnie walks up to me one day when I'm 45. She says, do you know what menopause is? And I said, no, Bonnie, to be honest with you, I know a little bit about it. She says, well, you better learn because your friends are about my age and they're going to start going through, their wives are going to go through menopause and you're not going to be able to go out and play with your friends. You better learn. So I started to learn about it then. And when we had the Healthy Inspirations program in place, a lot of the women that were hitting that point in their life where their life began to change, they began to say, this diet isn't working for me. I couldn't understand. Now I understand that there are changes going on menopausally. There are other things going on from the standpoint of the quality of the food, the air and water that we consume.
Well, I'll insert one element, and it's linked. The whole issue with menopause, the average American female, boomer female that goes through menopause puts on 20 pounds right in the midriff, right in that adipose tissue in the gut, and it goes right back to sugar. The number one punishment that menopausal females experience is high fructose corn syrup. It's a drug. It not only makes you fat, it is a source of all chronic underlying inflammation in the American diet. You know that.
That's right, and that's why it's so important, that we battle sodas that have the high fructose corn syrup. And high fructose corn syrup.
Get them out of our school system because the weight gain is starting now at prepubescence, before these kids even have a fighting chance. Like Curtis, I'll bet you, I haven't met Curtis, but I'll bet you he's got a lean body mass that you just would be stunning. Yep. Curtis Mitchell doesn't
He's 4.5% body fat.
Doesn't drink. Believe me, he doesn't even drink Gatorade, which is another pet peeve of mine. It's sugar water with a bunch of salt.
And one of the things I did was change him from Gatorade to the Performance that you've seen me use.
We've got the Vega pre-workout and post-workout, high osmolality exercise drinks that are second to none, and again would be worthy of a good program.
Right.
But the key here is to break that cycle of inflammation. At Love Whole Foods, we've got a sheet that has it's a one-pager that shows everything that you've just mentioned and what I've mentioned, all on one sheet. It's free. Come on into the 2 stores and just ask for it. Breaking the cycle of inflammation.
Well, and from our end, what we do is then we begin to work with the exercise. That's where the burst training has been so significant. And before we get too far into this topic, Mitch, we have an event we want to promote this weekend because you're closely affiliated with it. It's a community event that is merits bearing talking about. And you have your little flyer from. Why don't you tell people about what's going on this weekend?
Well, we're talking about inflammation. I mean, the ultimate inflammatory disease is cancer. And you don't just get cancer. You go through the inflammatory prerequisites that build eventually to the point where the immune system simply can't deal with the metabolic overload. Love Whole Foods is proud to be a corporate sponsor of Florida Memorial Hospital's Project Hope. It's a fundraiser that's going to be held at the Ocean Center on Sunday at 1:30. It's going to have a reception from 1:30 to 3 o'clock. The proceeds, the tickets are the tickets are $50, but don't panic. All of the vendors that are there are going to be giving out more than enough free swag to compensate for the $50. But the $50 goes towards funding our comprehensive cancer treatment center, which is state-of-the-art in Volusia, Flagler County. And the money is also going to be used to start the beginning stage of funding a new state-of-the-art neonatal center at the hospital on Williamson Boulevard, just down the street from Love Whole Foods at 275 Williamson Boulevard.
And people out there are going like, there's a lot of people, as much as we talk about, Mitch, they don't believe that inflammation has anything to do with cancer. And so I want to take him back just for a moment to a little bit of hopefully very simple science, because you and I get talking sometimes out of the realm of what people understand on a daily basis. You know, Zig Ziglar used to say, talk to people at 6th grade, 3rd month level, and you'll communicate with more people in a greater variety. So let's imagine, you know, all of us went to high school and took some level of life science, okay? And when we took the life science that dealt with the body and biology, and we learned about a cell. We learned about the cell, and they said to us, hey, look, here's a cell. It has a cell wall or cell membrane, and it has inside the cell membrane, it has the cytoplasm. It has mitochondria, which are the powerhouses of the cell, create the energy.
That's where the proper energy exchange takes place.
And then you have a nucleus as a DNA. And we learned that the DNA in the nucleus was what dictated to the body what proteins we did, what we did. The Genome Project in 1995 begins to show that our probiotic activity and all these other gene pairs that we pick up, really, what really happens at the cell is this. Rather than the cell being this flat thing that has a nucleus in the middle, it's more like one of those spongy balls. And the spongy balls have little spikes on them. And the little spikes, like a chew toy you'd give to a dog. And those little spongy spikes on the outside are receptor sites for hormones, for things, for exchange to go on. And what happens is inflammation, especially from sugar, begins to dull those receptor sites.
Or estrogen. Angelina Jolie has just brought this, what you're just discussing, the BRCA gene and its sensitivity to estrogen and breast cancer. And again, that would be a incredible subject of, I'd like listeners to call in and ask how they feel about that issue, but you're absolutely right. And then it's a combination of the sugar, which basically is a hormone, combined with the estrogen. So pick it up from there.
So now what happens is the inflammation attacks that outside layer. Now, what we now know from the most modern research that many physicians wouldn't even have this model of understanding is that the cell wall is very permeable, and there is reading going on with that ecosystem, that environment, by the messenger RNA, and it now goes back and tells the nucleus what to do. Okay, but back to the receptors. These receptor sites now become inflamed, so they cannot communicate. If you can't communicate, you can't function. You can't communicate within the cell. So what happens is the cell has to do one of two things. It has to die, or it has to mutate. If we don't take the nutritional and exercise actions that will help to reverse the inflammation process and clean those receptor sites, for lack of a better word, then we are unable to process the body in a manner and do our protein biosynthesis and run our systems. So this is the critical factor of why we talk so much about inflammation being the key to every single disease that we have going on that is a chronic disease in this country right now. Heart disease, atherosclerosis, everything, the cancer. And that's why we focus on it from the standpoint of why we try to keep looking to change people's diet. The things that we look at, too much sugar, too many bad fats, and too many toxins.
Hydrogenated oils that simply go through the mitochondria and kill the cell.
Right. You know, and then the toxins that we have in our body, heavy metal from internal intoxication, for instance, the mercury fillings that you have when you go to, and they drill you.
Yeah, but more important, it's the diesel fumes that you're sucking in when you're stuck behind a waste management diesel truck or a Votran diesel bus. Those are hydrocarbons that your body simply can't assimilate. It attaches to those receptor sites and it causes apoptosis, cell death. And you do enough apoptosis over and over and over again, and you get into what we call a degenerative state. You're absolutely right. One of the best things is your nutrients that are basically rust removers. They are the ones that eliminate the majority of those. And as Leslie and I talked in
and let's not forget oxidative stress that goes on every day with what we're doing.
That's the rust. You're right. That's the rust.
And Mitch, I've got to cut you because we got to take a break. And then we got Dr. Fahn here with his testimony client. So I want to remind everybody, Mitch, real quick, why don't you give them the specials that are running up at both Love Whole Foods this weekend?
Well, one of the things that we've got going is a complete line drive on enzymatic therapy and an ongoing 30% off on Jordan Rubin's entire Garden of Life line. But the most important one is I want to invite folks to join us at the Ocean Center, and we're going to be giving out a free copy of Dr. Janet McBride's book on turmeric, which really has a nice summary on just what Tasso and I just discussed. It's one superfood that will address Alzheimer's, heart disease, diabetes, and then the number one, just chronic pain, systemic, scalp to toes. Come and join us. I'm going to give out a free insulated bag. We're coming into summer, and I'll give you the book. Those that can't make it, if you come into either the Port Orange store, 1633 Taylor Road in Port Orange, or the Ormond Beach store, come in and just mention the show. I'll give you a free copy of Dr. McBride's book. You chew on it and then come back and give me your feedback, and I'll give you a money-back guarantee on the incredible power of turmeric to be able to just address systemic inflammation.
And that book has a CD if I'm not
That's
mistaken.
correct. Either way, if you can't read, you can. If you can't read, stick it in your car CD player and get the knowledge.
And what I like to say before we go to break is today is the first day of beginning the Hot Bodies Summer Membership. It begins with our student membership. That's $99 for 99 days, a great way to shape up that student body. We also had the very popular Hot Bodies, which is a 3-month membership that gives you full service of our supervised exercise program. And the best quote-unquote deal of the day is our one-on-one summer membership that has in its cardio coaching, which has the burst training I was talking about reversing the inflammation process, helping get into our fat stores more efficiently than anything we've used in the past cardiovascular wise. It is a personalized cardio coaching program. You get 18 one-on-one training sessions with a 3-month program of our cardio coaching, $7.99. If you act before June the 15th, you'll receive 6 more one-on-ones. So that's 24 one-on-one sessions for $7.99, a personalized program to help you succeed. 3 great ways to get in shape for the summer. We'll be back in just a moment.
Do you have a project around your home or office that may be a little too big for you? Or maybe it's one your husband says he'll do when he gets the chance, though he never seems to. And maybe that's a good thing because you know it's over his head. Well, Trousdale & Sons Construction is ready to help you tackle that project. And for Trousdale & Sons, no job is too big or small for Keith Trousdale and his 25 years of experience. Need a wall built or removed, a new closet, a ceiling repaired? Trousdale & Sons handles drywall, knockdown, stucco, painting. Heck, they handle all finishes. Plus, they can update or add wood trim or swap out your kitchen cabinets. And if you need demolition work done, Trousdale & Sons can handle that as well. Let Trousdale & Sons help your dreams come true. Check them out on Facebook or give them a call 386-258-7433. That's 258-7433. Trousdale & Sons, proud to do it right the first time.
Trousdale & Sons, LLC, fully licensed and insured.
When you want custom apparel, including embroidered hats, t-shirts, or even screen-printed t-shirts, there's only one name to remember: Mid-Florida Sportswear. Call Mid-Florida Sportswear at 386-258-5632. Mid-Florida Sportswear is committed to a quality job. In fact, they're known for it. Mid-Florida Sportswear has been a Daytona Beach Regional Chamber of Commerce member for over 34 years. They are also an official licensee of the Convention and Visitors Bureau for Bike Week t-shirts. Mid-Florida Sportswear will do a great job for your organization, sports team, or school. Whether you have a design of your own or just a vision they can help with, Mid-Florida Sportswear will make sure the job is done with the highest quality. Give them a call at 386-258-5632. Or find them online at mfswear.com. Mid-Florida Sportswear is the choice of other great businesses such as Krabby Joe's, the Ocean Deck, the Oyster Pub, North Turn, and the Daytona Beach Chamber. Find out why and make Mid-Florida Sportswear your choice too. 386-258-5632.
Welcome back to Fitness Friday. It was a great session with Curtis Mitchell, one of the 3 fastest men in the world in the 200 meters, and Daytona born, Daytona raised, and next week you'll be able to see him on national TV running in the big Adidas track meet up in New York. So keep an eye over that over Memorial Day with all the things that are going on TV. we have in studio Casey
Devitt.
McDevitt. Casey, you're Dr. Fahn's flavor of the day to bring in. Now, Dr. Fahn, I want to tell you, we gave you an extra boost today because we had Curtis Mitchell on. And, you know, Curtis, the fastest time in the world run this year is 20 flat in the 200 meters.
Wow.
Curtis ran a 20.37 last week at a track meet. Now, this is from a guy that could not make the Olympic team because of a hamstring injury that he's working with you and I.
Mm-hmm.
So he's on the way back. Big race. August is our goal, to beat Usain Bolt and to be a gold medalist at the World Championships over in Czechoslovakia. That's Daytona-born Curtis Mitchell. Look for that name because we're going to be looking for corporate people to appear in his PSA to say, you know, we're proud that we have one of the fastest men in the world and the fastest town in America with our NASCAR roots that we have here. So
you and I worked really hard to get him well before the race, right?
Yep. So now with Mitch, we'll start to add some of the stuff. Mitch brings his expertise on the table. So Casey, tell us a little bit about how you got to see Dr. Fahn. How did you come to go see this guy?
Well, actually, I first met the doctor when he was treating a patient in the condo I live. I met the doctor in an elevator as he was going up to treat one of the owners, and he gave me his card at the time, and I thanked him. And I guess it was a couple years later that I thought, well, before I have any more operations or medical treatment for this condition in my knee and several other conditions, that I'd give him a call and see what he could do for me.
Now, I want to take a step back before I talk about your pain. So you met him in an elevator going to treat a patient in a condo. So
Yes.
that he was doing a house call, right?
Basically, yes.
So how many of you could go out there and go like, well, you know, my doctor came to my house today to take care of me. You know, Dr. Fahn was doing that. This is the passion of Dr. Fahn that separates him from a lot of other people in his industry and what he does. He hasn't hung out a shingle. If there is someone that needs to be healed, because I know there's other people you go to. You volunteer on every time I tried to get you the Mother's Day thing on Sunday. You couldn't come because you're volunteering in Sanford, doing your little thing over there, right?
Right.
So a community-oriented person, just like I am. That's how I got you to help me with Curtis when he first came home. So tell us now about the pain that you had that brought you in that direction, Curtis.
Well, I was dealing with several issues, and the most prominent at the time was pain in my knee, and some arthritis and extreme pain in both my thumbs, where I have bone-on-bone type issues, very little cartilage and ligament. And of course, the doctors all want to do a replacement or cut me open, to fix this stuff. And that's the way I was headed. And I thought, I saw Dr. Fahn's card, and I thought, well, let's give this a shot. My daughter youngest daughter out in California had gone through some acupuncture treatment for her back, and she told me she had some great results from it.
Right.
And I mean, I was a little skeptical to begin with.
Now, first of all, let's deal with the big one, because you're a big guy. Right? Any fear of the needles going in?
No, not so much needles. Right. No, not so much the needles. It's just, acupuncture, voodoo, witchcraft. It was all kind of.
Tasso, one thing about this young man here, not young man, but Mr. McDevitt, he is a police officer. You have to know that. He's retired from.
Retired, yeah.
Okay, and, so you had a lot of wear and tear chasing.
Yeah, I got some miles on.
Right.
Some of them pretty hard, but it got to the point where it was like, well, I've got nothing to lose if this doesn't work. My daughter says it works for her, so I'll give it a shot. And if it doesn't work, well, there's always the knife, the scalpel, But
so tell us about the first treatment you had.
Well, the first one we had to prioritize. I met with the doctor, and I told him my issues, and I said right now I'm really having problems with my knee and my thumbs first, and my lower back wasn't bothering me too much at the time. So we started and focused on my thumbs, both thumbs, and my right knee, and the first treatment, I don't know how many needles he's put in me, but probably 20 or so.
Right.
It should be less. I use for you normally about 8 to 12.
Mm-hmm. And I was having problems with my knee and my thumb, and I'm getting needles in my foot and ankle, and
Right.
I was kind of wondering how this
Yeah,
all ties in.
I went for my hip. I went for my hip. He put one in my wrist and my toe. I went like, what the heck?
Right. So that was a little odd. But he told me, he says, the problems I'm having aren't the easiest ones for him to treat, that they may take some time before I'll notice any significant results. But quite frankly, by the end of the fourth treatment, at the end of the second week, because I was going 2 treatments a week, by the end of the fourth treatment, I was noticing significant reductions in pain in both my knee and both thumbs.
Right.
And I thought, well, let's give it a shot here. Let's keep rolling with it. So after about another 2 months, we started reducing the amount of time that I had to go to him.
Right.
And it's, I wouldn't say I'm 100% pain-free because I'm prone to doing stupid things sometimes.
We're men.
But my thumbs will tell me, or my knee will tell me, you don't want to go there, or you don't want to go any further. But I get through the day now without having to worry about any pain in my either thumb or my knee, to the point where I'm not even considering knee replacement or grafting ligaments from my arm to put them in my thumb. That's off the table in the distant future. Now,
well,
about 6 weeks ago, we started on my back.
Okay, so you're 2 or 3 months into this now.
Yeah,
let's
4.
talk about the experience, because a lot of people don't really know what to expect, and I didn't know what to expect. If you told me, listen, you go see this doctor, he's going to put 3 little, as he calls them. Have you heard this term, micro healing filaments, before? Yeah, he calls them. They're needles, Dr. Font. They're needles. It's okay. So, but they're not bad needles. They don't hurt, right? They didn't hurt.
No.
Okay. So they said, look, they're going to put 3 or 4 of these in you, and you're going to go to sleep on the table. I go, yeah, right. And every time, I'm probably the biggest snorer you got there. Now you've started to work on my snoring for me.
Right, right. He puts on that good spa music, and away you go. Yeah,
that little infrared lamp there to increase circulation.
Right.
There's a question that I've always had when it comes to acupuncture, and it's not that I'm afraid of the needles. I've seen what you guys can do, and you're very good with not giving any pain, but especially with those little tiny micro needles. Have you ever lost one in somebody?
It's very hard. The patient will tell you. That's a good question. That's a good question.
The thing I've tried to convey to people is that, number one, the experience is not that traumatic to go. It's like going and laying down in someone's office, and you're going to feel maybe a bee bite here or there. The second thing is that systemically, other things get better in your body. You went for your thumbs, your knee, and your back. Have you noticed other things systemically about yourself that are better?
In all honesty, I can't say so, because I was so focused on my knee and thumbs that I mean that's why I was there, is to get those addressed. But no, I sleep. But my back's better, my knee's better, my thumbs are better.
Yeah, I notice I sleep better. I notice my whole constitution seems to work in balance. Which, when Dr. Fon and I first talked, he said this is how do you use it? What did you say to me? It was quantum physics for the body is the term, because the whole body is interrelated. Right. So it's easier now to maintain his thumbs, even though you're treating his back, because of what goes on systemically in the body. And there is, I would imagine, a rather large down regulation of inflammation, so that he does not have as much pain going on.
Oh, absolutely. But our goal is to reduce the inflammation and provide the flexibility and also reduce pain. But as a human, when you have less pain, less inflammations, you're going to sleep better, and you improve your quality of life. You do things without even thinking about the pain that you're in. So right now his subconscious not even aware of the pain around the thumbs, the lower back, and the knee. Now he just go on and do his own activities and just enjoy life in a different thinking, different concepts.
Casey, do you feel like you have better range of motion?
Absolutely, no question. Especially again in the thumbs, the one where I've been the longest treatment, the thumbs and the knee. It was difficult to walk. It was hard for me to pick up a glass.
Right.
And I have much wider, much better range of motion. not to mention pain-free.
Right.
You know, and it's been tremendous.
You know, when I talk about systemic effects of this, I have noticed over the years that I've been with Dr. Fon that I've seen a couple things. I've seen, number one, better range of motion in my joints because my hips were very tight. I notice now when I exercise, my two partners, when they get me into a particular machines, they used to have to pull me down to get me into full range of motion. Now I go pretty much in there by myself, maybe a little bit of coaxing from them. I notice that my range of motion, like in my leg extensions and my squats and my leg presses, is much better. Because and the other thing I noticed with that change in range of motion is a big change in my strength. You know, when I came to you, Dr. Fon, I think my low back weight was about 150, 160 pounds. I worked, you know, because I couldn't, and I didn't have a very good range of motion. Now I'm full range of motion. I'm almost double that weight in a lot of the exercises. So it wasn't that I wasn't strong enough. It allowed the body to function better. You know, in Casey's case, his back is going to be better. But it's going to also elicit a response from some of the muscles he has there already, that he has strength in that, right?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And the doctor was absolutely upfront, you know, and he was, I think, maybe a little bit surprised at how rapidly I improved with my thumbs and knees, and he was very cautious and wanted to remind me that the back might take a little bit longer.
Right.
So, you know, I've been patient with it, and he's kind of told me don't be going crazy in the gym yet,
right,
you know,
right.
and try and take it one step at a time. So I have been. I mean, I go to the gym, and just the fact that I'm able to go through a workout now that I hadn't been able to do for probably about 6-7 months. I didn't even go.
Right.
Now I'm back in the gym 3 days a week and doing a good hour and a half workout.
Well, I haven't seen you around the club, so you're obviously at the wrong gym, so we won't even talk about that.
I wasn't going to mention any names, but
we'll get you over with us.
This place is across the street from me, so I couldn't.
You'll come to the dark side.
You know, Tasso, I'd like to share a few things for our community and our listeners to WNAB. It's that, you know, a couple of weeks we have a retired surgeon who, you know, had an open mind to, I help him with the lower back and the hips, you know, Dr. Price.
Right.
And last month we have our guest was the attorney taught at Daytona State College. And this month we had retired police officer. So, I mean,
not to mention that we've had several teachers from the various colleges that
Right.
have been here that have everything from sleep disorders to cancer, chemotherapy. Remember the lady that came from Maine?
Right.
I think she went back up to Maine now, but she came down and had not been able to gain weight. Energy level was down. This is what I mean about acupuncture as a systemic treatment. But it also goes back to the conversation that I was having with Mitch from Love Whole Foods earlier, is inflammation is the core of a lot of this because our system gets out of balance. Our system gets to where it can't function, and we bring it back into balance. That's what exercise and diet and treatments that you go through should do when you look at the body in a holistic standpoint.
Yes, absolutely. And the key why I brought up, you know, few patient of mine, because they are highly educated people in our community, and they are more natural gear, more natural treatment. You know, they try explore other natural options first before, you know, surgery. Like Mr. McDavick, you know, he want to try something natural first. Right. And one thing is that the medical doctor told him is bone on bone, but he's in his 60 now, right? Are you in your 60 now, right?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Well into my 60s.
Mm-hmm. So if you take an x-ray and you just around 50, 60, or 70, even the knee, the joints, I would encourage you to try the acupuncture to recuperate and see how's that recover before surgery. And I think it's worth a chance that you come and see me and sit down with me and see what I can do before the operations.
And Dr. Fine, when people, you know, there's been several articles written over the years in regards to both things we do, exercise before surgery, acupuncture treatment before surgery. Even a worst case scenario, even if you had not helped Casey with his situations of his wrists and knees and thumbs and knees and back, if he went for that surgery, because you had reduced the inflammation, the chances of how much better that surgery would have gone is probably a very high-end number, that he would have had great success with that surgery as a result of going through the pre-preparation of that.
Absolutely.
It's like when they take people for the gastric bypass. If they will follow a diet, get an exercise program before they do it, they do much better when they go through the surgery. They do much better in actually achieving their goal weight because they've begun to establish a change in that body and lifestyle at that point. And that's, when I go to the questions, now that I've pointed out better range of motion, feeling a little stronger, do you think there's some systemic effects that maybe you didn't recognize initially with the treatments you're going?
Absolutely. I mean, the better I feel, the more things I'm going to go do.
Right.
So, and even the doctor's courses of treatments for me, there's many of these things that kind of overlap. I mean, I can tell that.
Right.
That when he's doing things that, even though he didn't treat my knee this time,
right,
it feels better.
Right.
And I'll be honest with you, I don't really think about a lot of things like that. It either works or it doesn't, and that's the doctor just started treatment on my wife. Now, if you wanted to ask systemic questions, she's a retired nurse, and she knows.
She knows.
Yeah, she's into yoga. She's into this stuff, and
right.
The doctor just started treatment on her, and she is all excited about it.
Right.
Again, lower back issues, and
right.
I guess it's part of aging and everything else. It's something you got to deal with. Yeah.
Mr. McDevitt, let me ask you these questions. How do we break, from your perspective or standpoint, how would you break the skepticism of our community? I know there's 80% of the population right now, need my service, but they are skeptical and they never had any formal education or lack of exposure. How would you kind of break the ice for them?
Well, certainly programs and issues such as this are ways of doing it. Advertising. A big help may be is if the insurance profession that supplies medical insurance and stuff like that would give you some more recognition. A lot of people can't afford out-of-pocket treatment, and that might open up a whole new area as we go down the road. And I don't know if this Obamacare is going to cover any of that stuff or not. Right. But I think that would be a boon because it works. There's just no doubt in my mind anymore.
Right.
That it works. So along with education, I think there's going to be some recognition from the medical profession that this isn't witchcraft, it isn't voodoo, and it works. And once that happens, I think that'll probably open more gates and doors for
our public.
For acupuncture, and will help you at the same time reaching more of the general public.
Well, and I think people have to take the initiative also to get over some of the barriers that we personally will have. And I tell people all the time, it says, I have one lady I've talked to. This is the fourth time I talked to her the other day about coming to you, Dr. Fahn. And I said to her, well, how much do you hurt? And she goes, a lot. I said, do you hurt more than you did the last time we talked? She goes, yes. I said, well, you're getting closer, because you're either going to hurt enough where you're going to say, I'm desperate and I need help and I'll try anything, or you're going to come to an intellectual that the evidence is going to, the articles that you supply, all those things are going to win them over. They're going to hear a report somewhere and say, when I first, going back to Curtis, when I first talked to Curtis, I said, we're going to take you down there, Curtis, because number one is your flexibility. I have 84-year-old men who are more flexible than a world-class sprinter was. And he didn't believe me, so I got one of my I said, I didn't go get a specific one. I said, well, Curtis, I said, there's 3 80-plus-year-old people right there. Which one you want me to put on the table? And he picked this guy that bent over, looking sort of geezerly, 87 years old, and sure enough, his hamstrings were more flexible than Curtis's was. I said, Curtis, when you go to Dr. Fahn, it's going to increase flexibility, I'm going to increase strength, and I'm going to continue to maintenance the flexibility we get. And this is why he's gone from sitting on the sidelines to running the fourth fastest time in the world this year in the 200 meters. because we have thoughtfulness in what we approach. There is science behind what we. It's hard to explain your science than it is to explain my science, but my science is foundational to your science when I talk about inflammation in the cell and decreasing. And that's why I push so many people. I say, look, go to Dr. Fon on a hectic day for stress reduction treatment. Just go do that for 3 weeks in a row every Friday and see if your weekend isn't better and that you are able to enjoy that weekend, to digest your food, to enjoy your family, and to be pain-free. It won't happen instantaneously, but you will notice systemic differences. You will sleep better. You will have more energy. Same things I say, because we're linked in what we do in our profession. Dr. Fon, we better tell people where you're at because we've only got a few minutes left. Give them your location.
I locate on 725 West Canada. Is right literally east of Loman's home and the Moose family. So we locate in the same plaza as Ullman Pediatric. And our office number is 615-1203. And if you're veterans and you can't afford the treatments, I would offer a special program for the veterans because I like to do something for our country.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Fon. You do a lot for the community. You've been very involved with us, and I appreciate that our friendship. And I think we're going on 4 years now working together.
Yeah, I treat you since 2007. I look at your records.
Really?
Yes, 2007.
It's been 6 years?
It's been 6 years. Time flies.
You know what? It's pretty easy to forget that pain. Time flies when you're having fun, right?
Right.
And you know what I noticed, Dr. Fon, is I noticed that when I first, and you're going to experience this too, Casey, you probably experienced a little bit of it already, is those pain patterns will come back. I remember about 3 months after you helped me at first, I came back and I was in writhing pain. I was in your office like a little crybaby. I'm going, stop the pain, Dr. Fon, stop the pain. And you actually did little nerve blocks with it and stopped so I could at least recover. Right. And I notice now it's like, I don't even think about a lot of times the hip pain or that. I don't even think about it because I rest so well when I get in my bed. I used to get in my bed and my legs and my hips would ache, and they don't. And, someone told me today, said, man, you look younger and you look happier. I go like, hey, listen, got a good woman in my life. I got a good doctor on my side. I got a good exercise program and I'm eating right. What more can I ask for?
Tasso, I think our community need to be like proactive. Eat a healthy lifestyles and go to see you, get works out, get healthy, and if they have joint pain, spine pain, neck pain, I'm a reliable practitioner that can most likely will resolve the pain before the surgeries or any type of treatment. So try natural first, and then before strong medication, hydrocodone, oxycodone, or surgery. And I think you need to you be proactive. Like don't wait too long.
Right. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to go back to the example of Curtis again because I just love using him as an example. He's in Orlando, big town, lots of resources. National Training Center is over there in Claremont. That's where he trains with some of the fastest people in the world. And where does he end back up? Back at Little Ormond Beach with people who are like his family. That he's had trainers over there that did nothing but maintained his injury. Okay, now with us here in Little Daytona. And did he not have therapists and acupuncturists in Orlando? He sure did. There are jewels in this community that we need to look at and come in and see. And this is a wonderful community. I hope that you will take the time to call Dr. Fon at 615-1203. Whether it's stress, whether it's chronic pain, whether it's a condition like a sleep apnea or something like that. We've seen them all and gotten great results. Give Dr. Fon a call. Mention the radio show, mention me, say, Tasso, that bald fat guy called you, told you to come. 615-1203, and I promise he won't treat you worse because you used my name, right?
All right. And Mr. McDevitt, you have about 30 seconds. Please tell, why it's worth to explore acupuncture.
Well, I've had 2 knee operations. I didn't want a third, and I thought I was pretty much at the end of the line until I talked to my daughter, and I thought, well, let me try this acupuncture. Believe me, it works.
All right.
Or it's worked for me. And the last thing I want to do is have somebody cut on my knee for a third time.
That's right.
If I can possibly avoid it. So if for no other reason, if you're faced with that type of an issue, I can honestly say, give Dr. Fon a try.
In his own words. No snip, snip. See Dr. Fon. I want to remind everybody the Hot Body Summer memberships start today. 3 great ways to get in shape. $99 for 99 days for our student membership. Our $199 Hot Body Supervised Exercise Program with our Body by Science coaching. And then the third one, our 18 one-on-one sessions. Get 6 more if you act by June 15th. Guaranteed results to change your body. God bless. Have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy. And don't forget the big event at the Ocean Center to benefit the Cancer Treatment Center in Ormond Beach. God bless. Thank you again. And we'll look forward to seeing you next week on Fitness Friday.
WNDB, Daytona Beach. First in local news. Fox News updates at the top of every hour. Online at newsdaytonabeach.com.